Greetings, pro wrestling fans, and thank you for joining us at the Pro Wrestling Look Back podcast. I'm Nick, and I'm sitting here with...
The Thrill, Cecil O'Neill, also known as Will.
He's back. Man, I love that. You might have the best nickname of the guests, of anybody who comes on this show.
Thank you.
I'm going to say that it's my favorite. I don't know. I can't speak for anybody else, but it's definitely my favorite nickname, so it's good to have you back, Will. Thank you for joining us at the Pro Wrestling Look Back podcast. This is the Roundtable, episode 52, and boy, have I been excited for this one, let me tell you. 52 weeks.
That's a year.
Yeah, not that we've missed a few weeks here and there, but I like to think of this as like, hey, if you ever want to sit down and listen to 52 weeks of the Pro Wrestling Look Back podcast, you can now.
And you got me on the 1 year anniversary. I'm touched.
There you go. Yeah, no, I'm happy that you're here for this one. Like I said, I've been hyping this show up for weeks. The 52. I keep talking about 52, but if you guys don't already, hit us up on Instagram and Twitter at PWLookback. We'd appreciate that. Send us some PMs. Let us know what you think of the show. If you got any topics, questions, concerns, or even ideas for Look Back shows in the future, greatly appreciate that. Speaking of that, stay tuned for the Look Back show coming this weekend. I'm not going to tell you. Maybe check out the Instagram story for a little bit of a tease. If you don't already, hit over iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, hit the 5 stars, subscribe, like, share. We appreciate all that. Teespring.com/Pro Wrestling Look Back podcast. I do that every week. It's just teespring.com/Pro Wrestling Look Back. You can get merch there, t-shirts, mugs, cups, all that kind of stuff. There might be a cup, there might not be, I don't know. But you can get all kinds of stuff on there if you want. And don't forget to check out our sponsor at Pure Oxide Premium CBD Oil. You can check them out at pureoxide.com, at Pure Oxide CBD on Instagram and Twitter. They ship worldwide, and like I've been saying every week, guys, this stuff is amazing for pain, anxiety. It's good with pets. It kind of helps myself, at least. I don't know if I can speak for anybody else that's been taking the product, but mental clarity, just feeling a little bit more like I kind of know where I'm supposed to be going, if you know what I mean, Will. But it's amazing stuff. It's no GMOs, like I said. It's THC free, pet friendly, like I mentioned. And it's good for all around muscle and joint pain, and honestly helps with the stress level too. So it's helped me get kind of happy, rejuvenated, and good to go for doing the podcast as per usual. But like I said, check them out at Pure Oxide CBD on Instagram and Twitter. PureOxide.com is where you can get it, and they ship worldwide. So yeah, check them out. Will, what's going on, man?
Oh, life.
Life is up. Life is down.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah, man. We talked a little bit about, before we hit record, and I think I've given you the opportunity to plug it almost every time you've been on the show, but how's the ARC Adrenaline Racing community going on there on the old streaming?
Oh, it's going pretty good.
Yeah?
It's going good.
You guys started a new Super Formula League?
Yeah, we started. We just finished it. There's just simple 4 rounds, 2 races each round.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it was only a 4-race series, so I might have to jump in that next time, get my practice laps in now, and then next time that it comes around, I can jump in.
Yeah, it was just a little mini series we wanted to throw on between championships just to keep people interested.
For sure.
But we're going to be starting our big one soon, our Group 3 championship. That's our big season. We're
going
to be starting that one up soon, so that one's going to be exciting. We've had a lot of fast guys join.
Yeah, hey.
So the field should be even closer than last year, and it was already super close.
That's dope. I seen a few of the races that you guys did last year, and they were all really close, really tight, and competitive racing, but clean, too. You don't have a lot of dirty drivers in that league. And that's always what you want to see. But I'll give you a second if you want before we dive into the rest of kind of the open of the show here. Plug away, my friend. Let them know, the listeners know, the Look Back, where they can check out Adrenaline Racing Community.
Well, if you want to find more of the ARC, we're over on YouTube at youtube.com/Adrenaline Racing Community. That's where you can find all of us. We stream live there, and all of our past broadcasts are there. We've been uploading some of the races that we stream to Twitch, too. So if you want to see some of Season 1 and Season 2, they're there as well. We've had a couple of the... We've had some of the McGain Trophy Cup races, another one of the mini seasons we've had, and now the Super Formula season. So if you want to see some more action, there you go.
Check them out. Yeah, it's good stuff. Like I said to you today, I was watching a bit of the most recent Super Formula race on my lunch break today. So it's worth it. Anybody who's interested in racing and kind of likes the F1 update and that kind of stuff that we mix into this podcast, definitely check it out. But this week on the show, me and Will are going to get into some all-out talk, buddy. It's good to have you. It kind of works out perfect that you're here post All Out. This is right up your alley.
I almost feel like you only bring me on for the indie shows.
Well, I mean, it would be the right idea if it was a planned thing. It's definitely not. But if it was a planned thing, I think I got the right idea and the right person in studio to help break down this pay-per-view. But like I said, we're going to talk about that. We're probably going to get into a little bit of Raw and SmackDown stuff, just major points. Minor being not too much, but major being the major points. And then maybe some of Will's thoughts on the King of the Ring tournament so far, and maybe a prediction for the winner with, the 5 wrestlers that we have left to kind of go at it here, as well as maybe some thoughts on SmackDown Live going to Fox and, kind of the competition with AEW. Maybe some stuff NXT going over to USA. I wouldn't mind getting your thoughts on that too, since I haven't talked to you in person about that. And then the F1 update at the end of the show, and that pretty much be it. But yeah, so All Elite Wrestling, the big what was it? All Out. All Out.
It's because they were all in, and they were all out.
They were all in, and then what were the shows in between? So we had All In.
You had Double or Nothing.
And then
you had Fighter Fest and Fight for the Fallen,
which were kind of like
they're like little mini shows, but they added to the storylines.
Okay, that's good. And I've only watched. I didn't watch All Out actually. I watched Double or Nothing, and then I watched this one here. So everything, like I said, kind of I tweeted it on our Pro Wrestling Look Back Twitter account, but in my opinion, by far the best AEW show that has been done so far as a pro wrestling show in a whole. The only negative I would say is it was a little long, but that's typical in wrestling nowadays.
Yeah,
WWE's just starting to kind of pull back a little bit.
Even in Ring of Honor, the shows go like 4 or 5 hours.
Exactly. So it's something that's going to happen, but we'll kind of talk about some of the matches. I just have the top 4 kind of main event-ish type matches written down. I mean, we're not going to break down everything, but I did want to give you the opportunity if there's anything on the show other than those ones that kind of jumped out at you that you want to talk about, by all means.
The triple threat, Darby Allin, Jimmy Havoc, Joey Janela. That one was fantastic.
Thumbtacks in the mouth and a little duct tape.
The duct tape, and then the coffin drop through the barrel, and then the skateboard with thumbtacks on the bottom. It's hardcore wrestling in the modern era, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, that one, I'm happy you brought that up, actually, because I didn't write that one down. But I do have a lot of memories, because I got to be honest, and I'm being 100% honest right now. I can't remember the last time I was ever that squeamish while watching a pro wrestling match. And honestly, it was the thumbtacks in the mouth, because when he put those thumbtacks in his mouth
and then taped it shut,
I'm sitting there thinking, okay, wait, if he accidentally swallows one, like, it's not like anybody know, like, how's he gonna tell somebody? Like,
and then he takes a senton.
Yeah, it's nuts, crazy. So what was that, Jimmy Havoc that had the thumbtacks in his mouth? Because I don't know the names of these guys very well.
Yeah, that was Jimmy Havoc. Yeah.
And so what were the names again? Jimmy Havoc.
Darby Allin, who's the one that comes out with the skull face paint.
Gotcha.
And then Joey Janela, who's just insane.
And is he the one that does the coffin?
Darby Allin does the coffin.
Oh, okay, yeah, because that was fucking insane. If for anybody that didn't see it, I mean, maybe go look it up, but he kind of jumped off the top rope onto his back, onto a steel steps with a barrel.
Through the cracker barrel.
Yeah, through the cracker barrel that was on top. I remember I was watching it with, again, shout out Newell, who's been on the show before. We were watching it, and I turned to him, and I'm like, dude, that would have been better if the guy stayed there. Like, the fact that Buddy moved, that was way worse for him. So, I don't know. It was an insane match, and like I said, I don't know if I've been that squeamish in a pro wrestling match in a while.
Yeah, it's been gnarly what they've been doing. And in fact, if you want to know the significance behind the skateboard for Darby Allin, he used to be a professional skateboarder.
No way, like X Games, like the whole deal?
I don't know if he was X Games and stuff, but like there was videos on YouTube you can find of him when he was skateboarding a lot, and he would do stuff like he would like grind the lip of like a pool, do a front flip, land on the board, and go back down. He was insane.
Crap. Wow, I might have to go look up some of that, because I don't know, that's pretty cool, and I'd like to see some old school, you know what I mean, putting the camera real low, riding the skateboard. I can picture almost what the videos looked like. But
the fisheye lens.
Exactly, yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, good match, probably one of the best on the card, even though it wasn't in like I said, that kind of top 4 main event-ish, quote-unquote matches.
Yeah, but I feel like those are the guys they're slowly trying to build.
Yes.
Those are the guys that in a year or two might actually become champion.
For sure.
Like, I've never seen Darby wrestle before, I think it was Double or Nothing, where he fought Cody Rhodes. I've never seen him. I've only heard of him once, and that was in one of the Being the Elite episodes.
Okay, and I know the name, but it's probably from, younger Mike D or you guys,
I've never heard of him or seen him before that match, and that match 100% sold me on Darby Allin. I watched that match when he got the double, like the tie with Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
And it was just like I wanted him to be champion now.
Well, hey, that's the one thing. Well, not the one thing, but that is one thing that AEW is doing that's amazing. It's building the future stars. Like, even though, we'll get to it, Hangman and stuff in the main event, maybe not coming out on top, but still, that match put Hangman in a conversation that he can now be in going forward, and that's the main event conversation.
Yeah.
So I agree. They're doing the right things in the sense that they're building towards people and where they're going to be in the future. A lot of things caught me on this show, but we'll get to it. Some of the crowd reactions, some of the people I didn't realize were baby faces that I kind of thought were heels, but I'll get to it. I wanted to talk about this one because why the hell did Kenny and Pac have the second match on the card?
That's a thing that I've seen a lot of people bring up, and I'm not sure. I can only assume or think that's because instead of Moxley, him and Pac didn't really have any build.
Yeah.
So it didn't really mean anything, this match. It was just kind of a throw together because Mox had to hit the surgery.
But don't you think it would have been better to open with that then? And kind of just maybe not get it out of the way, but it's like, all right, there's no build, so let's just get it off the bat.
I don't know. I think they've been opening a lot with SCU, specifically because it's just an easy crowd pop. It's something to get the crowd hyped. It's what they do.
This is like Bayley opening the takeover shows in 2016 when she was on NXT.
She's a simple, the crowd loves them. They go out to do their thing. Simple, clean match. Gets the crowd ready for what to come, and then...
That's a pretty good... I got to be honest, that's a really good answer because I couldn't... I was shocked, and I felt so horrible for Donovan because Donovan was with us that night, and then he had left because he wanted to get home in time to see that match. So he left, and then we threw on the match, or we threw on the show. I missed the opening. I didn't see the SCU match, but it's like you said, I knew they opened, and you're right. That was
actually a good match, too, because they fought I guess they're called the Jurassic Express, the 3-man tag team with Marco Stunt, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus.
I heard about it which was awesome. I'm sure anybody, that watched AEW checked it out, but the Jericho podcast that he did this week where it was just kind of him by himself talking about AEW, basically reviewing each of the matches, and he went through that one pretty well. So I kind of got the gist of it from what Jericho had said, but I forget what I was bringing up in the first place. But yeah, just the fact that Donovan had missed that match. So he got home, and I texted him, I'm like, how mad? Because he was watching maybe Sean Spears. I don't know. It was later in the night. I'm like, how mad are you that you missed it? And he's like, missed what? And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, did I just... and I turned to Newell. I'm like, I think I just told him that he missed it. Meanwhile, half an hour earlier, I said to Newell, or an hour, whatever it was, I was like, oh, Don's going to be so mad that he missed that match because he wanted to see that match more than anyone on the whole card, probably. Especially, Kenny Omega and Pac being two of his favorite wrestlers. I totally 100% wore this for you, Donovan. This is a pure troll job because you're not here this week. So I'm wearing the Kenny the Cleaner t-shirt just for you. I hope you're listening. But
he doesn't listen to his own product.
No, I know he doesn't, but I'm going to send him a clip of this and hopefully he can hear it. But
the thumbnail.
Exactly, yeah. And that's definitely why I wore this t-shirt. But yeah, I just thought it was crazy that they put it second and so funny because I made a joke last week on the show. I was like, oh, they'll put it second, haha. And here we go. It was second. And I was totally just fucking around being like, they'll never put that match second. And they did. The match turned out great.
Yeah.
And I don't care. Like, the spot in the card didn't change it for me. It was just a weird placement. It wasn't like one of these things where it ruined the next match because it was, you know what I mean? It was so high. The crowd was going so crazy that the next match kind of floundered because of it. It was a fucking awesome match, but very different than what you're used to seeing North American style wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, totally different. Again, and I know I've shouted him out a couple times in the show, but Newell talked about it again. He was watching this and he's like, bro, this is not anything that I see on Monday Night Raw. I'm like, no, it definitely isn't. And I'm like, see, hidden? I'm like, bro, that guy right there, and Kenny is the one I'm talking about, not to take anything away from Pac, but I was like, that guy right there, he might be the best wrestler in professional wrestling outside of WWE. And he would probably be in that conversation if he was in WWE. I just mean he is definitely the best wrestler that isn't in WWE, in my opinion. So, and Pac's right up there too. Pac just wasn't really given the opportunities in WWE. I heard on Jericho's show, I couldn't believe this. Jericho said that not only were Kenny and Pac not pleased with the match, but they had to cut it short.
Huh.
Which obviously I wouldn't have been able to pick up on that, but yeah, they were cut short, so they had to cut a lot of things out of the match. And then they weren't they really, it wasn't their favorite match that they've ever had, as far as Chris Jericho said on his show, at least. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Like, everyone thought it was a great match. It was. Kenny always puts on a great match, and this is the first time we've seen Pac in North America in who knows how long.
Exactly.
And I'm sure they both take pride in what they do in the ring. But, I mean, every Kenny match he does is just fantastic. I mean, it wasn't no Okada-Kenny match out there. But
that's what Jericho said. Jericho's like, you know what? I haven't seen it yet. He's like, but I don't believe for 1 second that Kenny Omega and Pac had a match that wasn't good. So, and he's right, because it was good. Maybe it wasn't quite as good as Kenny and Pac wanted it to be, but I think, and don't come at me here, the hardcore indie fans, but I think maybe the biggest thing that those type of guys are going to have to get used to over here is that you can't just go out there and have a 45-minute classic all the time.
Yeah,
especially when you're in the second match of the card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the difference just between Culture Shock and the kind of company and the kind of the business model they're doing.
Yeah.
They're going for a lot more of a sports-focused thing where they have time limits that they're staying to, and then when they come out, you can see they'll have like the win-loss ratio beside the name card.
I didn't even see that. I didn't even pick up on that. That's fucking awesome.
They've been showing that out, and
some of it though, the production and everything that they're doing is on point. The graphics for the new show, Full Gear, I think it's what it's called. I don't want to compare them to WWE, but if you swapped out Dean Ambrose and Kenny Omega and put Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman in that graphic and replace the AEW logo with it would look like a WWE pay-per-view logo.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that level of what they're doing, at least at the beginning right now, is completely on par with WWE. So, I mean,
the name even makes a bit of sense because I know you don't really watch Being the Elite, but there was
not in a long time.
For a long time, there was the thing before, because when Hangman was supposed to fight Pac, there was a thing where he wasn't full gear ready because they know how some guys would always walk around in their wrestling gear.
Yeah.
They would bash him, saying, "You're not. Why are you wearing in full gear right now? You don't look that good." So they had him do this whole like training thing to get him in shape to fight Pac.
And then they never ended up fighting. Didn't he show up at like an indie show in the UK?
Yeah.
And he beat up Pac afterwards, or they had a
no?
Or wasn't
Pac beat him up.
Oh, okay. But did they have an impromptu match, or was it just like
no? It was just like a little fight to try to settle the feud.
And that was supposed to happen at one of those Fyre Fests?
It would have Double or Nothing.
Oh, it was supposed to be at Double or Nothing. But then obviously that got changed because he won.
Well, they changed.
Hangman won the thing at the last.
He won it. He won it because Dragon Gate didn't want their champion losing because at the time he was undefeated.
Oh, okay.
So they didn't want him losing,
which
to
I knew,
Hangman in like a non-title match.
Got you. I see.
So instead they gave Hangman the Joker, and he came out in the Battle Royal.
That makes sense, and that was still a good moment, and it was kind of predictable, but I enjoyed that pay-per-view, Double or Nothing. I just thought that one was a 3-match card. As much as like I've focused on 4 matches here, this card was more spread out. We talked about a triple threat match. The I can't remember her name. I called her Rhino on the show last week, but Rio. Yeah. And then the other lady that she fought, that was a good match, and they're super tiny, but they put on a good show.
I'm not quite sold on their women's division yet.
Yeah, not yet, but they did sign a lot of people.
Yeah, they're growing. They're definitely growing. There's I don't know if you saw the pre-show, the buy-in.
Mercedes Martinez.
Yes.
I knew she was signed.
I want to see more of her.
For sure.
She was excellent.
Oh, yeah. Didn't they sign Jazz, too, I believe? I seen a video of Jazz before the show. We talked about it on the roundtable.
I don't know. I don't know all of their signings. I haven't kept up with everything they have on the roster, but they have some strong women. They have the Tessa Blanchard.
Yep.
They have, as we just mentioned, Mercedes Martinez, Riho, who they're slowly building. Nyla Rose, who they're also really building. So they have a good, strong upper card.
Yeah.
I think they just need to kind of flesh it out a bit more with the lower to mid card.
Not to focus too much on, people jumping over. I know this isn't fucking WCW, but I'm very curious to see who that first woman, the Dean Ambrose, the Sean Spear, the Ty Dillinger, like who's going to be that first woman that jumps over, whether it's Dana Brooke or, you know what I mean? I don't know if it's going to be somebody quite like a Sasha Banks or somebody that is that high up in the company, but still, I'm curious to see what
they already had their first release, AEW.
Did they?
Yeah, Kylie Ray, she left.
Okay, wow. All right, well,
and then the same day, Casey Catanzaro from NXT also left. She left NXT.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Casey Catanzaro.
Actually, I don't have like a crying sound on here, but
yeah, Casey Catanzaro got released from NXT.
Why? What do you mean she got released? Bullshit. She's like one of the best fucking women in the company in NXT women. her and Candace are like, well, obviously Shayna and Rhea Ripley too, but what the fuck?
I don't remember the reasoning. I think it might have had to do with not injuries or something. I'm not quite sure. Don't quote me on that. I don't know if it was because she had too many injuries and had to leave, or because she just felt the industry wasn't for her. I'm not sure. All I know is that she was released. I'm not quite sure on the reason why. All I know is that it happened.
I am completely upset about this right now. And I wish I could look up more stuff. I'm trying to, because I follow her on Instagram and I can't find anything, but I don't know. That's very upsetting to myself because I was really looking forward. She debuted in the Women's Rumble a couple years back or whenever that was.
Last year.
Yeah,
This year.
Yeah, this year. You're right. Well, I guess, January this year. That makes me very sad. But anyway, I guess we should move on more with AEW, and we'll talk more about Katie Catanzaro. Katie. Definitely not Kathy. We'll talk more about that in the coming weeks, I guess, hopefully.
She could be Kathy Catanzaro if she goes to AEW, I'm just saying.
Didn't she win like American Ninja Warrior? And I seen her do like a 360 code breaker last week.
Oh yeah, she's insane.
She posted a video and she ran at the person, jumped up.
She's Ricochet's girlfriend, and she's the female Ricochet.
Exactly. Why I don't know. That's something we're gonna have to go forward with in the next coming weeks. But any other stuff from the Kenny and Pac match?
No. Just I honestly, other than I think the right man won.
Yeah.
Everyone seemed to be surprised that Kenny lost. Or at least my friend who's a super big Kenny fan was surprised, but I think it made sense.
Shocked for a few seconds. Sorry to cut you off. I was shocked for a few seconds, and then when it kind of sunk in, I was like, yeah, you know what? And the way they did it, with like Kenny had him up for the one-winged angel, and then it was like fucking Spider-Man was up there and got him into this armbar. What's the move called?
The Brutalizer.
The Brutalizer. And he he passed out. He didn't even tap out. So, I mean, that's kind of the best.
And he had it on tight.
Oh hell yeah!
It was on.
But I just mean like that's the best. Like the best way Kenny's gonna come out of that match losing clean is probably what they did.
Yeah,
you know. What I mean,
Kenny's at a point where in his career where everyone loves him, everyone knows he's great.
Yeah,
he could lose a couple matches in a row, and it's not going to belittle him.
I don't know. I can't speak for everybody else, but for me personally, this does take away a little bit from the Dean Ambrose match that's coming up at Full Gear. Like I'm not as excited as I would have been before, especially because he lost.
Well, I don't know if you've seen the promos that they've done.
No, all I've seen
basically just to explain to a bit when they had like a little thing where Kenny was doing his interview before the match, like you know how WWE they do the little promos before they do a thing. Well, they turned the lights on and the dude comes in and tells Kenny, Mox is out, and Kenny's like, what?
Okay. Yeah. I seen a clip of that.
And Kenny's like, okay, well, I'm mic'd up. Let's go. And then he just cuts a promo on Moxley, basically shitting on him. And the dude's got a staph infection.
Yeah, bro. Is it the same? It's got to be the same promo. I think me and Donovan talked about this last week. But is it the one where he says, like, you know, how'd you do in the G1?
Yeah.
I was there, and I won it. First time. Got the T-shirt to prove it.
Yeah. That's the exact same promo.
Like, amazing.
He's like, you're doing all this shit, and then you do this?
Yeah.
You're letting all these fans down? Really?
Yeah, no, it was a really good promo.
I think he ended it with something pretty harsh, like, you'd be better gone.
Yeah, that's fucked.
Like, the dude's got a staph infection.
I can ask you this week. I asked Donovan last week. If you were in charge of AEW, would you have let him go to New Japan?
Yeah, why not?
For sure? No, I'm just curious. As a random, hypothetical scenario, the only thing that would have stopped me from letting him go, if I was in Tony Khan's shoes, let's say, is happy Dean Ambrose or happy Jon Moxley. Because if I'm speaking strictly from like my company and I want my guys to stay safe, then I'm not letting him go. But I said this to Donovan last week. He just left a company that said the word no to him a lot. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you want to start saying no to him right now.
That's very true.
So I think that's definitely
And I think Moxley over in New Japan, like you said, happy. I think he was really happy over there.
Of course, yeah.
The stuff they put him with, Shooter Ueno, it was fantastic. I know you don't watch any of the New Japan stuff, but the back, like, how the
we
G1
were following it. I just wasn't watching it. But Donovan gave us an update every week.
They do promos after each match in the G1. Like, like they give them a live mic, let them go. They're all sweaty from their match.
Yep.
Like I watched all those Dean Ambrose promos. They were fantastic. When he had the match with Jay White, he was harsh. He was cold, and he was like, he wanted, like, you could see the look in his eyes, like he wanted to hurt Jay White.
Yeah.
And when he finished his match with Toru Yano, it was complete silly Dean Ambrose. That promo is fantastic. I want to show you that video.
We should watch that later after we finish recording, because I haven't seen. But didn't they stick him with one of the young guys too for a little while?
Shota Umino, son of Red Shoes.
Okay, I don't know who that is as far as the Red Shoes.
He beat him in the Young Lions thing, and he took him under his wing, and then they had this really cool dynamic.
That's really cool. That's, again, Donovan had kind of given me like a weekly update G1 kind of thing, week to week. We talked about it. But I didn't watch any of it, so that's really cool to get your perspective as well. How about Sean Spears and Cody Christ, as I like to call him, Cody Rhodes. That's me and Donovan. That's our little nickname. As much as Donovan is a big fan of him, I don't want to paint that picture because Donovan likes Cody Rhodes. I can't. This is what I was talking to you about earlier, man. Since when is Cody fucking Rhodes a babyface, or Cody no last name?
Well, ever since the Bullet Club turned on him and they left New Japan.
No way. He wasn't a babyface at Double or Nothing, was he?
Yeah, didn't Darby Allin, yeah. They were kind of both. Well, none of them were proven at that point, so it was kind of like two neutral guys. But I guess Cody was over as the face, so
I guess yeah. I mean, I am the quote unquote casual fan to this stuff, so I'm not sure. But I didn't realize when Cody was getting the babyface reactions, and I had watched some of the promos going in. I've been a big fan of Sean Spears.
Cody's been a babyface ever since the Bullet Club turned on the Elite
a while back, obviously.
Yeah.
Because they would have still been in New Japan. So, okay. So I didn't know that. News to me. But how about this? Talk a little bit about the promo stuff building towards this match, because I was the most excited to see this match for sure. Myself, at least.
I think it was good.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they brought in Tully Blanchard.
Oh yeah, and Arn.
Yeah,
later in the night. That
I like that. I like that little touch. And then I don't know. I don't know. I get why he picked Cody. He had to choose between Diamond Dallas Page and MJF.
Yes.
Who he wants in his corner, because Sean Spears had Tully Blanchard in his.
Yeah, and he wasn't taking the dog, and he wasn't taking Brandy. Obviously, were they an option? I didn't know.
I don't know if they were or not.
Okay, the way I perceived it was like.
I mean, I don't think a dog at ringside might necessarily help you.
But. I mean, no, but like you never know. They could make it work. I feel like they could. It's just how much the dog wants to cooperate, and as we saw at the beginning of Cody's entrance, fireworks and dogs don't mesh well.
Yeah. So Tony Khan was actually upset about that.
About the fact that
the fireworks weren't supposed to go off.
Oh,
and it scared the dog, and they didn't like that. So Tony was a bit upset at that, but
I can totally understand that. Like it was just that there wasn't supposed to be fireworks in Cody's entrance, or they weren't supposed to happen when they happened.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure which, but all I know is that I don't think they were supposed to go off when they did, and it scared the dog.
Well, yeah, he was definitely. I don't blame him. Yeah. Dogs don't normally do well with fireworks.
To wrap that back around.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he picked MJF. It kind of gave this nice dynamic of Tully Blanchard, like the seasoned veteran, doing everything he can, wily checks to try and help Sean Spears, with MJF being his inexperienced up-and-comer, not making the right calls and accidentally helping Sean Spears a little bit. And then just to wrap around to the end of the match, when MJF stepped in the ring, looked at the chair, picked it up, like they're planting the seeds for MJF to turn on Cody Rhodes. And Cody turns around, he drops the chair, hugs him. Like they're planting the seeds. You saw MJF look at that chair like, is this my moment?
Well, that's what I was wondering, because MJF, the first time I ever saw MJF was the rally, the Jacksonville rally that they did outside of the Jacksonville Stadium. And when I seen him the first time, I was like, you know what? At least they've got a fucking real heel.
Oh, yeah.
A guy that the indie marks fucking boo.
And it's not a Baron Corbin heel either.
No.
It's an actual,
he's a heel.
We love to hate you.
Yeah, exactly. Just like me and the Briscoes. That's the best example I can give. And I told one of the Briscoes to his face, I enjoy booing the shit out of you. But it's perfect because he's a real heel. But are they going to get rid of that? Like, is he a babyface now because he's kind of been taken under Cody's wing?
No. He's a dick to everyone except Cody.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting dynamic. I got to be honest, man. I'm super excited for the TV show. That's where it's really going to change, and we're going to see how these guys do in a live TV scenario. You know what I mean? That's
you know how I told you I got some friends into wrestling because I showed them New Japan and Double or Nothing and stuff.
Yep.
One of my friends, because they're going to West Virginia, he lives in there. I told them they were coming to West Virginia, and it was like jaw dropped, stopped everything. Tell me when they're coming. I'm buying tickets.
For what, AEW?
Yeah.
Oh, no, so just for one of the TV shows?
Yeah. So he's going to their show in West Virginia.
That's freaking cool. I'm curious. Well, I still want to know what the hell's going on with the TV situation, like how we're going to be able to watch it up here in Canada. And then eventually, I'm sure it'll take a year or two, but when they do that first show at, Ricoh Coliseum or Coca-Cola, whatever the fuck it's called now, the Toronto Marlies Arena. That'll be fucking wicked. You know what I mean? Because I don't think they'll be going to the ACC or whatever it is.
Not unless it's like a big pay-per-view.
No,
but even then.
And I do think that they'll make it there eventually. If the road keeps going the way that it's going now, it's just you can't expect them to go sell out a fucking 19,000 seat building in a year.
I mean, they said 10,000 seats in 30 minutes.
Totally. Yeah, hey, so it's not that it can't be done, especially when you got people coming from all over. It's just when it becomes every week, it's like I don't know.
It starts to being not as special.
Yes,
like
exactly.
That's why they keep selling that now is because like, well, it's been a month since the last thing, right?
Totally. But yeah, overall, the Sean Spears and Cody, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about some of the spots. I don't remember too much about it, honestly, other than the Arn thing, because that was awesome. But I just like, man, I was a fan of Ty before Ty was Ty. Like, I was a fan of Ty when Ty was Ty. You know what I mean?
Sean Spears before.
Yeah,
Ty
like
Dillinger.
Exactly. Like I was a fan of Sean Spears before he even became Ty Dillinger. So I feel like, I got to cheer for this guy now, and it's just awesome. I never would have expected, honestly, like if you would have told me 2 years ago, I've always thought that he was something, but I wouldn't have thought he'd be treated in this kind of light with the amazing fucking entrance that they had and the little scarf hood thing and Tully Blanchard and the contacts.
I like his theme music. His theme music is good too.
Same here. The way he was holding the chair, bro, and the commentary, the fucking commentary. They're sitting there like, it's the same chair. Do you see the dent on the chair? It's the same chair that he hit Cody in the head. And I'm like, this is fucking gold.
Speaking of gold and commentary.
Yeah, I was just
Golden Boy. They signed him. Me being a fan of esports, I'm happy about that one.
Oh, is he?
He calls all kinds of esports.
Good for him. That's awesome.
Fighting game stuff, and they just like, we liked you at Fighter Fest. Sign.
And honestly, man, JR did a fucking awesome job in the show. And because I set the bar pretty low. I didn't, you know what I mean? And I didn't know how much of a good idea it is to have JR, in my own opinion, as far as like distinguishing yourself. Like for some of these, like for example, like this guy you got into pro wrestling.
Yeah.
He sits down and for the first episode, let's pretend he hadn't watched it yet. And he sits down for the first show and he watched, oh, they got Jim Ross?
No, he didn't know who Jim Ross was. He never watched wrestling.
He's never watched wrestling.
He's never watched wrestling.
Okay, I'm thinking more about those.
He likes Jim Ross because of his little quips like, he's tougher than a $2 steak.
Yeah, all kinds.
He loves that.
Honestly, if we'll talk about it in the F1 update later, I think Martin Brundle might have better quips than Jim Ross. Martin Brundle's little quips like that, I can't think of it off the top of my head right now, but oh my God. We'll get to that later. But yeah, overall, like I said, awesome. I don't know what else we can really talk about other than maybe the finish.
The finish, I think it was pretty good.
I'm
trying to remember the finish.
No, same here. I think Cody, he hit him with the crossroads, and that was pretty much it. And you're in the corner to the far right of your screen, or
pretty much, yeah,
close right of your screen. I believe there was a distraction, maybe. I'm not sure, but yeah, like I said, it was good, and
I think it was just Arn. Like he went for the pin. It done something in it.
Yeah, Arn hit the spine buster.
Yeah, spine buster. Then I think Cody hit another crossroads 1, 2, 3
after he got up. Yeah, so I got to be honest, I was pretty sad. I don't want to say sad, maybe mad. I don't know. I was upset. Like I definitely was cheering for Ty or Sean, and I wanted Sean to win this one. But I understand where they're going. I kind of hope it's not done. I don't think that's.
I think there's a promo afterwards where Cody said that was it. This match. This feud's over.
Okay.
I think that's what he said. But whether Sean lets it happen, I don't know if that's kayfabe or not.
I'd like to see them go forward with it as much as they have done. Maybe some of the people like you who have seen more of the build wouldn't agree with me as much. But I don't know. I'd like to see them do more with it. But I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe Sean goes in and has a feud with somebody else, wins, and then are they going to have like a TV title or an Intercontinental or some sort of...
Not that we know of yet. We know
some sort of secondary...
They have their main title, they have the women's title and tag team. I don't know if they're going to have like a middle of the road or mid-card.
I think they definitely should, just because it helps utilize somebody like a Sean Spears. You can go into that.
You can stick that on like the newer Kip Sabian. It's a guy who doesn't get like any TV time or whatever. And you're like, well, you might keep an eye, or a Darby Allin or a Jimmy Havoc, and use it to slowly build them.
Maybe treat it like the Intercontinental Championship was treated back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And have it be the title that you win when you're kind of on your road to win the next title. Moving forward, though, fuck me. Bucks and Lucha Brothers, man. Holy shit. Chaos.
The funny part of this match for me was after watching, like they were doing interviews for TV and stuff afterwards.
Oh, I didn't see
And they said,
I heard them. I know what you're gonna say.
They mentioned that never before after any match have they ever had that many people come up to them after a match and ask if they were okay.
Oh, okay, that's not even. I thought you were gonna say because they put that's fucking insane, and I'm not surprised one bit. But I thought you were gonna say that they said something on Instagram about this is the last time we're doing a ladder match for a while or something. He said it's the last ladder match I'm ever doing, and then it was like ... until I do another one or something. But at a spot, I don't want to say spot fest because
that's a ladder match.
It's a well, no, but and you say spot fest, and you know somebody listens. Oh, he's chirping the match, and he's calling it a spot fest. And
I mean, that's what the Young Bucks do
exactly. And that match kind of needed it. With like they said, they've fought each other 5 times since January or since I don't know 6 months or something crazy.
Yeah, it was something like that. Like it was
a lot. Basically,
like
this is the 5th or 6th time that they've fought in a year. So you're going to need to pull out all the stops.
Yeah.
You're going to need to do the fucking Canadian Destroyer off the top of the ladder through a fucking table. You know what I mean? You're going to need to have... Well, one thing, Nick, are you okay?
He's fine.
Because holy shit. When when his foot clipped that rope and he went through that one table instead of kind of spreading the blowout over the two.
Through his shoulder, too. It wasn't like it spread out. It was just right through his
shoulder, right through the table, onto the floor. Nuts. I don't know. That spot was crazy. What about I don't know the name of it. You would know better than me. It was kind of on the ladder, like a packaged something.
Oh, yeah, the package pile driver. Their finisher.
Is that the Lucha Brothers finisher?
The stomp into the package pile driver.
Onto the ladder that was propped up between the ring and the barricade.
Yeah.
Fucking insane, man. Insane. But yeah, I really honestly, like, aside from it being those spots we talked about, the story of 5 to 6 matches over the course of 6 to 7 months or longer, and then you know, Nick, I hope you're okay. Like I said, that's those are basically my thoughts from this match.
I think it was Nick that also mentioned his wife came up to him and was like, "You call your mother right now."
Oh my God, Will, that one deserves one of these. Give me a second. Holy shit.
That's not a joke. That happened.
No, but that's incredible because she's fucking right.
Yeah.
Like, she's fucking right. He definitely does need to go call the mother after that one. But yeah, I don't know, man. It was the whole match just gave me. If I had a sound effect to represent this match, that would be it. And I don't mean that negatively, as in it was a shit show. It was just an explosion of fucking chaos, and then the Lucha Brothers.
That's what a ladder match should be.
Oh, totally. I mean, not always. I think you can have ladder matches like Chris Jericho, again, on his podcast. He mentioned, you know, it's not the same kind of ladder match that me and Shawn Michaels had back in 2008 where we were using the ladder more as a weapon and hitting with the rather than jumping off of stuff or through stuff. So you are right. I mean, it is a ladder match, but there's different ways to do it. But it's a Bucks and Lucha Brothers tag team. I learned Spanish last week. What was the name of the show? The ladder.
Fiesta?
No, it was oh man, I can't remember. It was Los Ares something. I can't remember right now. It was the name of the match. It was like
some Escaleras de la Muerte.
Yeah, I don't know. Here, give me some more thoughts on the match, and I'm gonna get this up. 1 second.
I like the entrance for the Bucks. They actually had like the buck head with the tassels on it.
Amazing! I'm so happy you brought that up because I totally forgot about it. Yeah, I liked it because of the fact that the Lucha Brothers obviously wear masks too.
Mm-hmm.
Have they ever done that before? The Bucks?
I don't think so. No, I don't think they've ever worn anything like that. Like I know they've had like their special, like they've had trunks with all their championships on it. They've had the money trunks that they wore that time. They've had a whole bunch of stuff like that, but I don't think they've ever come out with like the headgear.
No, definitely the first time I had ever seen that. Escarta de la Muerte. I don't know if I said that right, but last week on the show I was reading that, and I was like, oh, what does that mean? Escarta de la Muerte. And then I clicked it, and then I was like, oh, it's a ladder match. It is a ladder match. So, yeah, that was, I guess, the first one of those they had done, and it was worth kind of pulling out all the stops. Mm-hmm. Did you see, just the one last thing, I guess, as far as bringing it back to the masks, did you see when Pentagon's mask came off?
Yeah.
Crazy. Like, right off. He covered his face. Like, I mean, obviously nobody could see me now, but I'm covering my face with my hands.
Yeah.
And, like, that was wild.
It's not the first time he's done that either.
No,
he's done stuff like that before. That mask doesn't sit very tight.
Okay, that makes...
Because like you can see at the bottom, it's not like a Rey Mysterio mask where it's done up at the back.
At the back, no.
It's just kind of like a hood he puts over, and it kind of just... The tightness of the leather just kind of holds it there.
Not to go too long on this, but how long has he been with the teammate there?
I honestly don't know.
Like roughly 2 years?
I honestly don't know the history between him and Ray Phoenix.
Because I guess most of their Ray Phoenix, and most of their stuff has been spent in AAA,
CMLL, stuff like that. I know they've done a lot of tag team stuff. That's why they're in this match.
For sure.
But I honestly can't say how long they've been together. I think they're actual brothers though, like blood brothers.
Oh, that's pretty dope. All I was gonna say, the only reason I was bringing that up is because I just know the first time I saw him was Lucha Underground. And I was like, this guy's freaking cool. That is some cool face paint. That is some cool... Because he did have face paint for a little while too, right? Not always the mask, or is it just kind of the bottom half that's face painted?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Either way, the first time I saw him was in Lucha Underground, so it was cool that he's kind of come along since then. And
wasn't he champion Lucha Underground?
He might have been. I only saw season 1, so that's why I don't know. I can't remember who was the first champion either.
Wasn't first champion Prince Puma?
Yes, that would make sense. Yeah,
also knows Ricochet.
Again, also the first time I ever saw Ricochet was in Lucha Underground. Shout out to this guy Jamie I worked with a few years ago at HMV. He was the one. He's like, oh, you ever check out Lucha? And I was just getting into wrestling. Like, had been watching Raw for like 3 weeks. And he's like, oh, you should check out Lucha Underground. It's this new show. So I checked it out, and I was like, holy crap, this is nuts. This is nothing like WWE.
Was good for like season 1, season 2, and then around season 3 and season 4, it gets a little weird.
I wish it was still on Netflix or somewhere like that where I could kind of just maybe binge it. I don't know if I would, but I say that now because I can't. The moment that I'm allowed to, maybe I won't. You know how it is. Kid wants the ball until he gets the ball, and then he doesn't want the ball.
Then you lose the ball, and you're like, oh, I wish I didn't lose that ball.
I wish I had that ball back. How about a ring bell for the main event? Chris Jericho and Hangman Page for the AEW Championship.
Good match.
I thought this match was fantastic.
Yeah.
As much as that Bucks match was amazing, this is more my style. This is more slower pace, and again, I don't want to bring his show up too much this week, whenever you're listening. But Jericho said that he was hearing a lot of complaints about how, oh, you should have put the Bucks match on last, and what are you talking about? It's the fucking AEW championship.
It's your inaugural championship. How are you going to put that on second last?
Exactly. I don't care if it's not the spotty fest of the night. It's the championship match.
Like, I know Hangman Page isn't the most over man in the company. A lot of people don't see him as, like, he's main event ready.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what they're trying to build him for. Like, they mentioned on commentary, like you said they were on it, Chris Jericho's won championships and everywhere. WCW, had like blah 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 blah, and this is the first ever championship Hangman Page has not fought for, but he's never held any championship ever.
No, not a TV title, not a tag title, totally. And they were talking about the fact, like, I can't remember if they said, do you think Jericho underestimated Hangman, or because I guess it would have been, because Hangman obviously wouldn't have underestimated Jericho, but they brought that up, like, do you think he underestimated him? You know what I mean? Going into this. Putting, maybe Jericho set the bar a little lower than he needed to, because I want to say, I can't remember a lot about the match itself, but Jericho was given a lot of the, like, Hangman was taking a lot of heat at the beginning of the match, no? From what I remember?
I think so. I honestly don't remember.
No, yeah,
I remember.
Worries,
I remember one spot of him doing the moonsault from the apron to the outside, taking the code breaker,
which was that was fucking nuts. But they did a lot of work in and out, which is, I always chirp Triple H for that. But sometimes it's needed, especially when you have a match like the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers happening right before. You know what I mean? It's good to kind of get back to the traditional wrestling stuff. And like we've said millions of times on this show, like, just simpler, like on the LookBack show too.
Not to mention, I think this might actually fall into what we talked about earlier with Kenny and Pac. If they put that match on second last because there's Kenny and Pac, it might have blended to get a little bit together with the Hangman Jericho match.
Exactly.
They did an excellent job of spacing out the card, so it was like you had the tag team match, the 3-man tag team match, which was pretty spotty with the Jungle Express.
Yep.
And then you had the Kenny Pac, which was a great match, a little bit like a regular one-on-one great match. And then you had the triple threat, which was almost like a hardcore match. And then, like, they did an excellent job actually spacing out and evening out the card that no match felt stale.
Totally.
And
that's a really good
bit of
point.
A problem with WWE is a lot of matches feel pretty stale, and it's because they have like 1v1 after 1v1 after 1v1.
That's almost two different arguments there, because I totally agree with the way that the AEW had built that card, and it's a completely good idea. But at the same time, the fact that we had all number one-on-one matches at SummerSlam, I don't think you could have found a happier guy in the building, because I don't always like just oh, let's just get them all on the card. Let's just put all four
that,
of them
that I'm agreeing.
in a triple threat.
I'm agreeing with, but at the same time, if
it's all singles matches, at least let's have the stories be different, or like put the tag teams in. I totally know. I know what you're trying to say completely. I just didn't want to make it seem like one-on-one matches all through the card is a bad thing, because it isn't always a bad thing. You just have to. The matches
it depends on the build and the wrestlers themselves.
Exactly. Like you put a Bray Wyatt and Finn up against, in a Triple H and. I don't know. Yeah,
I know what you mean. You have like a flip Gordon versus Ricochet, or
it's one-on-one, but they're two completely different type of matches.
Different styles.
Exactly. So yeah, I totally agree with that. But the story of this, man, you want to get back to story? Jesus, you want to talk cowboy shit? You want to talk cowboy shit?
Comes out on a horse. They're ripping the stitches out.
Fuck. Oh, that was fucking nuts. When I'm so happy you brought that up, because I totally forgot that he pulled the stitches out. Shout out to Hangman Page. You're getting a full applause for that one. Holy shit. But bro, that Jericho promo that he cut going into the show, like I just said, with the cowboy shit, and you think you're the man, and I've been all over the world, and I need this. I have to win. It made me believe that he had to win. It truly did. Not that I didn't want Hangman to win, or I didn't think for a second that Hangman was going to win. Jericho was right. Mm-hmm. He had to win. Because if he didn't win, what is that? That doesn't show much that you lose to Hangman. Not to take anything again away from Hangman, but he's the up and coming guy. And I love that forever from now on, hopefully when this company's still here in 20 years, the first champion's Chris Jericho. Yeah. And that's it's never changing. That's always Chris Jericho. Mm-hmm. Fucking Lionheart, been wrestling for 20 years.
Next week, his title belt gets stolen.
Yeah, exactly. But then he launches a worldwide investigation and gets the title.
It starts a meme of
bubbly.
Bubbly.
Yeah, man. You know what? The worldwide investigation for the title belt, because obviously we all know he won the belt, and then after it was stolen by fans or somebody. I don't know. It was taken out of the limo.
Yeah, it was in his limo, and then apparently someone went in the limo and took the belt.
Wow. How much do you think the limousine driver was paid to steal the title?
I don't even know if the limousine driver was in. We don't know that.
Yeah, I'm just making up bullshit. But yeah, I forget what I was going to say about Jericho, but just the bubbly, all that stuff. That's what it was. It was what I said to you before we hit record, where I wish I was in the room when Jericho found out that the title was stolen. And I want to know how quickly Jericho went from being upset to, wait, I'm going to turn this into something. I'm going to get me a camera tomorrow. Come to my house. I got this. We'll be fine. I'll cut a promo. I already got it upstairs. Don't worry. We got this. I want to know how quickly he thought of that, because I don't want to say you got to be a genius, but like that is some genius thinking.
Yeah.
You got to be a smart professional wrestling mind.
When I saw that video of him doing that, because I saw the video of him doing that, and then I saw the actual police report that was filed. And I wasn't sure if it was a work or not, because Jericho's acting like it's like a storyline thing.
Yeah,
and then there's an actual police report.
And then I'm gonna set a worldwide investigation of all the best private investigator. It was just amazing. I was like, this is perfect. They're just taking a real thing.
Hangman wouldn't have done that, but I guess you could also argue the point that Hangman probably wouldn't have been in the same situation as Chris Jericho then.
With the limousine and all that. But still, just the creativity to take a really bad real situation and turn it into a pro wrestling storyline is just amazing. That's the essence of what professional wrestling is.
And the thing is, because I read Reddit a bit too.
Yeah, of course.
It wasn't like people were upset or outraged at it. A lot of people were like, "That sucks," but it's a little bit kind of funny.
Yeah, of course. But I mean,
so in the end, it's a positive for AEW, because that's even
publicity.
Publicity. Like news places are reporting on this. Like the BBC in the UK reported on it.
The AEW championship had been stolen.
Yeah,
and there's people going, "What's AEW?" Yeah, you know what I mean. What is that? So, I don't know. Overall, like we talked about, this card, these matches, this was, in my opinion, like I said, the best AEW card that they've had so far. And I don't know. The Jericho Hangman might have been my favorite match. As much as I liked the Kenny Pac, I really enjoyed the story that they told, and then just the traditional wrestling style in that match.
Mine had to be the triple threat. I'm a sucker for Darby Allin.
No, that's a good answer too, man. And I'm happy that at the beginning when I asked you what matches should we talk about that kind of weren't, on my little list of top 4 that you brought up that. And I don't know. We should move on. I wish we had some bubbly. Celebrate it.
They have it a t-shirt now.
Oh, I know. I saw it on the Pro Wrestling Tee sent me an email today. But I figure, why not? We do this sometimes on the round table, and it's kind of, why not?
Moments of the night.
Dun, dun.
Moments of the night.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, Will, I don't know if you've heard that before,
I haven't.
but that's this is our Moments of the Night segment that we do.
Please, Don, just stick to rapping and not singing.
Oh, you should have heard the round table last week. Or actually, no, it's the LookBack show coming up this week and my singing about Bubba Ray. But stay tuned for that coming this weekend. In the meantime, like I said, that was the first time you had heard that, Will. That's a segment we do on the LookBack show, which is obviously the show where we look back at old pay-per-views and wrestling events and break them down start to finish. Moments of the night, kind of something that you're going to remember in 10 years, 5 years, or even...
Darby Allin, just in general, 100%.
He doesn't even
the skateboard with the thumbtacks, the senton to a man with thumbtacks in his mouth taped to a chair, the Cracker Barrel onto the steel steps, like... That man is a walking highlight reel.
So that's your moment of the night when somebody says to you, "All Out" in 5 years.
Darby Allin.
That's what
100%.
That's
that
what
triple threat. 100%.
That's a good answer. That's definitely a good answer. I gotta say, as much as it might not have been my favorite match, it's probably going to be the Buck stuff and all the craziness that happened, and the like I said, the Canadian Destroyer through the table and the Nick going, and then the package pile driver and everything else that happened. It's probably the crazy spot fest that happened there. And again, I don't mean negative when I say spot fest. I just mean it was a spot fest.
Yeah. That's a ladder match.
Those are kind of we do that on every Look Back show, which we're going to get you on someday. But I think, actually, no, you came on the
I was 92 Royal Rumble.
So you may have heard that before, you just don't remember. Because I think it was there. I don't know. It's hard to say. Because we're going, as per usual, me and you going long, no way. I just had a couple little things, because I guess we can probably scrap some of the Raw and SmackDown stuff this week. I know you don't watch too much of Raw and SmackDown, so it's better to get you in here to talk AEW anyway.
I just had a bit of a thought about it, and now that you mentioned it, you ever watch a TV show or an anime? I don't know if you're into that kind of thing, where like they have the big storyline arc, and then they'll have like that off season that's just filler.
Yeah, totally.
Like I feel like Raw and SmackDown most of the time is just filler.
All the time? Like, or just as of right now, this little pocket we're in? Or what kind of...
Sometimes, I get that they'll usually set up the storyline and stuff, but it feels like some of like that like middle of the month stuff, it's just filler.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a jaded WWE fan, but honestly, ever since the Heyman and Bischoff announcement, I've noticed a difference in the shows. The promos that some of the wrestlers have been cutting, like Sasha Banks, I talked about it last week again. Sasha Banks' promo that she cut last week was written by Paul Heyman, and it was an amazing promo. So there is, and I don't want to sound like I'm a big only WWE rah-rah, but I think some of the stuff that obviously you're not watching because you're not watching the whole show, it's hard to find the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a 3-hour show, it's not all going to be good. So I see what you're saying, but I don't agree in the sense that right now, I would have said 6 months ago, post-WrestleMania, fuck yeah. Right now, kind of going into SummerSlam and coming out of SummerSlam, I feel like WWE's on the up and up.
Mm-hmm.
And with, like we talked about, with me saying this full gear pay-per-view, and there's people at WWE looking at AEW right now and saying, we can't let off the gas.
Yep.
You better put the clutch in and shift up.
We talked about this last time I was on the podcast. Yeah,
so,
I agree with you 100%.
So that's only a good thing.
They wouldn't have done things with Paul Heyman or
exactly
if AEW wasn't a thing.
Exactly.
NXT wouldn't be moving to USA if AEW wasn't a thing. Like
no, perfect segue too, because that's actually one of the things that maybe we'll talk a tiny bit about Raw and SmackDown after. But the major things I wanted to, not necessarily about the storylines in Raw and SmackDown. I just have some thoughts from you. But yeah, I want to talk about NXT going over to USA quickly, just some of I haven't had you on the show since this announcement was made, and what do you think the significance of this deal is?
Well, one, it's going to USA to compete with AEW.
Totally. Is it going to be on the same time? Sorry to cut you off, because I know AEW's 7 to 10.
I don't know if they said the time for NXT.
Or maybe not
yet.
7 to 10.
I'm not sure if they've announced the times. All I know is they're on the same day.
Okay.
Second, it's going to 2 hours, which is great for the NXT guys. And number 3, they're not considering it a developmental anymore.
Totally. But there's good and bad to come of that.
Yes.
And the time thing, let me correct myself, because I don't think AEW obviously is a 3-hour show. So I think it's 7 to 9 or it's 8 to 10. It's one of the two.
I think AEW is like 2 hours or something.
Yeah, but I think for some reason I feel like they're starting at 7 and not 8. So that's why I think it goes from 7 to 9 rather than like SmackDown 8 to 10 or Raw 8 to 11. What were we just saying? Jesus.
NXT USA.
Yeah, so you talked about 2 hours, good thing. Obviously, that's a good thing. And the non-developmental. Those to me are, there's good and then there's bad for both of those.
Yeah.
Because 2 hours now means that you can obviously overexpose people, which has never happened on NXT, and that's one of the biggest reasons why NXT is what NXT is. It's because we only get an hour of it every week, and only the best people make it onto that show most of the time.
Yeah, and you don't even get a pay-per-view every month.
No, and that's something I want to talk more about, because I hope that doesn't become a thing.
Yeah.
I really don't want...
NXT was good because you got it sparsely.
Exactly. And then the other thing, the 2 hour... What was the other thing? Jesus, Murphy, I'm all over the place right now.
Not developmental.
Oh, yeah, and not developmental. Great in the sense that we're not going to have people being quote-unquote called up to Raw.
Called up, people actually getting contracts that aren't like developmental contracts. They're getting proper contracts, the same people that Raw and SmackDown get.
And I would imagine that all these people in NXT are probably going to be paid somewhat equivalently to the people in Raw and SmackDown. You know what I mean? Which would make sense. These guys are going to be traveling the country just like Raw and SmackDown. My negative, though, is where's the developmental now? Do we need that? Because that's needed. The whole point of NXT being a thing is to bring the people who don't know how to do live TV and know where the cameras go and where you're supposed to cover somebody.
It's supposed to be that learning thing.
And the ramp,
take you from the indies, show you how we do things, teach you how to do it, how to work in that situation, and then you go do it.
And then exactly. Even I know little things in NXT, man, even down to the angle
of the ramp.
Of the ramp is the exact same as Raw and SmackDown, or it is when they do an angle on it, because sometimes it's flat, but you know what I mean. So that
at a point it was even where they would use the Raw and SmackDown set as the pay-per-view set for NXT takeovers.
Exactly. No, that's spot on. So they need to find how they're going to do that, whether it's recording a show at the Performance Center or something, I don't know, or maybe staying at Full Sail and bringing back FCW, I don't know. I'm just saying something where the people who aren't Adam Cole's and Keith Lee's of the world can go and learn. The people like Velveteen before Velveteen was Velveteen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
Where those guys can go train. So those are the two things for me, at least, for NXT. But all that being said, excited as fuck to have it on USA Network or Sportsnet or wherever it's going to be in Canada for us. I'm probably going to be watching more NXT than I have been, especially with SmackDown moving over to Fridays. Perfect, again, segue. I want to get some of your thoughts on that. Because it's so soon.
Wasn't it on Fridays before?
It was when we were when I was a kid.
2012, it was on Fridays, wasn't it?
I can't speak for 2011, 2012, but I can speak for 2005, 6, 7, maybe 6, 7, when they became Friday Night SmackDown. I remember when I was a kid, because I went to my dad's every other weekend, and when they switched it to Fridays, I was like, fuck, now I'm going to miss SmackDown every other week, because I got to get picked up by my dad on Friday night, which obviously I got to see my dad, which was cool, but miss SmackDown every other week. So I'm not looking forward to the waiting. Like, I like the Monday, Tuesday, not get it over with. I don't want to make it sound like I get it over with, but you know what I mean. I like the Monday, Tuesday, get my wrestling in, chill out Wednesday.
Well, I think this is one of the reasons they're doing it, is now that NXT, they're considering it a main show.
Spread it out.
Having that Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that's like a big burst, and for a lot of people, that's going to be very tiring.
Well,
that's like, what, 7 hours of wrestling within 3 days?
Totally.
That's exhausting.
Honestly, man, and I've said it on this show many times, that's probably the biggest reason I don't watch NXT currently. And it's not because I don't like the product. It's just by the time Wednesday night comes around, I've spent my Monday night after work with the boys, Newell and Moo and Hurdy and everybody that comes over, and that's awesome. I enjoy every minute of it. Tuesday night, I come home. Usually it's just me, and I watch SmackDown. By Wednesday, when I come home from work,
you're wrestling out.
I don't necessarily, not that NXT is going to take up my whole night, but it's kind of right in the middle of your fucking night at 8 o'clock, depending on when you different people's scenarios.
And then
but
you
still,
also have to get stuff ready for this podcast here,
Exactly.
which we record on Thursdays.
Which is the next day. So I kind of like having Wednesday as that kind of take a break day and relax, do some sim racing, practice for the ARC Sim Racing League that I'm going to hopefully be joining, and then, go from that. So maybe Tuesday will become that day for me going forward. I don't know, but either way, it's big news, and it's just the money, man. The amount of money that they got from Fox to go over is massive. And then it hasn't been officially announced, because we speculated a lot about this on the show, but it hasn't been officially announced that they're going to be doing a draft, as far as I seen on Instagram today from some other wrestling accounts. Like, again, I'm not officially saying this here, but I would imagine they're planning something, so I'm not going to say a date.
If they put people back onto NXT, and then they're having NXT become a main show, I feel like they're going to have to do another draft.
Do you think they're going to do that kind of draft where NXT's included? Because I didn't assume that. I was assuming Raw, SmackDown.
If they're going to consider it a main show on the level of Raw and SmackDown, they're going to have to. Like, if you don't do that, you don't consider it on the same level, and but you're saying it is, there's that disconnect between your viewers.
You're completely right, but I feel like you could also get some disconnect from the viewers if you take a lot of these people that are synonymous with NXT off of NXT in a draft. If Adam Cole, not that he would go, but Keith Lee, somebody that
I know what you mean,
ends up on SmackDown, the diehard NXT fan's gonna go, "What the fuck, man?"
Yeah,
I don't watch SmackDown. I like NXT.
But then you had that same argument of John Cena going from Raw to SmackDown, right?
Yes and no. Yes, because it's two different shows, but no, because I still think NXT has different fans than Monday Night Raw and SmackDown.
That is true. That is very true.
So some of those NXT quote-unquote fans might be like, "Hey, what are you taking our guys for? You just told us we're getting a full show, and now you're taking our fucking guys, and you're giving us Cesaro." Not that's a bad example. Cesaro's amazing.
Like, you're gonna take our Velveteen Dream,
and you're gonna give us, Hawkins and Ryder,
Luke Harper,
or Elias. Not an Elias started in NXT, but still.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't think the NXT fans would be too happy about that if that turns out to be the case.
But one would also argue that they're the minority in this case.
Definitely.
A lot of the Raw and SmackDown fans that we know, this is almost common knowledge in wrestling if you at least know about it on the internet. Those are a lot more of a common base. They only really know WWE and the Raw and SmackDown.
Totally.
People who go to NXT, they know about the indies. That's the internet wrestling community. They're a lot more vocal fans. That's why you see a lot of these chants that start up at NXT but don't make it to the main roster.
Yeah.
They're a lot more of a loyal and just a diehard wrestling fan base compared to Raw and SmackDown.
Absolutely. Not as casual, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely more interested in the product. Just got their finger on the pulse of the product.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. Final thoughts, I guess, before we get to the close of the show. I don't want to go too much about the Raw and SmackDown, but I do want to talk a tiny bit about King of the Ring. I want to talk about just kind of your predictions maybe for a winner and or just kind of who you think might be meeting in the finals, and I can bounce off your kind of thoughts off that as well.
All right. So
triple threat, Ricochet, Samoa Joe, Baron Corbin on Raw, Gable, Elias, SmackDown. Go.
Well, for the triple threat, they have two heels, or is he a face? Is Joe a face now after he didn't hit Roman? I don't know.
No, he's definitely still a heel.
Okay,
he was chirping Gable this week for being short. So
okay, so and then they have Ricochet, and then so I don't see Elias and Baron Corbin winning, because then they would have two heels that used to be friends with each other fighting.
Yeah,
for King of the Ring. I don't see that working.
That
out.
doesn't make sense.
But I can definitely see one of those heels working. Joe would have a great match against Gable.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be a fantastic match. Ricochet versus no one really wants Baron Corbin or Elias to go through.
No.
But at the same time, I could see them doing it just so that they have that heel that people really hate.
But both of them?
Not both of them.
Oh, okay.
Not
One of them.
One of them. So honestly, I'd probably see Baron Corbin going through on the triple threat. Whether he wins through shenanigans or whatnot, I probably see him go through. Just have that one dude that everyone wants to see lose.
It's funny.
I want to see Gable win because Gable is awesome. But at the same time, if he wins, I don't feel like they're going to do anything with him.
Maybe, though, man. It's better than they were already doing more than they did a month ago. And I said 2 months ago on this show, I was like, that's the guy that I'd be worried about going to AEW. Because when he does go, or if, not that I want him to now because they're actually doing something with him, but I said that's the guy that they'd be shaking their heads going, what the fuck were we doing?
Yeah.
Why didn't we fucking... Because the guy can have some of the best matches, like singles matches, pro wrestling style, Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, those kind of matches.
Yep.
Eddie Guerrero, of anybody in the company. So I want to see Gable go through. I've talked about it in the last couple weeks on the show. In my perfect scenario, and I'll tell you this obviously because I don't know if you had heard, but it's got to be Gable going to the finals against Baron Corbin, and then the night of Clash of Champions, or Night of Champion, whatever the hell, Clash of Champions, we get Kurt Angle backstage, meets up with Gable, and says, hey, buddy, I'll be out there in your corner, don't worry. Baron Corbin, like, it writes itself to me. I mean, maybe I've put it out there on the airwaves too much now for it to actually happen, but it's a gimme for me. You find a way to get Joe and Ricochet to feud each other based on the way the triple threat ends. Elias is Elias, whatever. Maybe Kevin Owens comes and fucking screws him over because Shane screwed him in the first place. And then it's perfect to have Gable go up against Corbin. Corbin retired Kurt Angle. And if you really want to get crazy with it, take some of Donovan's ideas and maybe, the DNA tests were wrong. And maybe we know who the real son might actually be. Again, we're kind of rehashing stuff that we talked about last week, but we haven't had
They do something where Jason Jordan's scared of needles, so he goes up to Gable like, dude, I need your blood. Not to be weird, but I need your blood real quick.
But yeah, I that to me would be the perfect scenario in the King of the Ring. But either way, dude, this King of the Ring tournament, and I know you haven't watched a lot of it, but it's been fucking amazing. And from day one,
have they said what the winner gets other than the King of the Ring?
No, just King of the Ring. But I that's kind of roughly how it's always been. And I mean, you can get my thoughts this week on the 2002 King of the Ring and how they treated that winner. But yeah, they didn't really say. I just loved, and I've talked about it again many times, I just loved how going into this tournament, man, you could look at both sides of this bracket and I could give you a justified reason as to why every single person on that bracket could have won. Even someone like a Cedric Alexander or an Ali or Andrade. Like, there was guys all over this bracket that you could look at and say, oh yeah, I could see him winning if this scenario turned out to be this. And then, you know what I mean? It wasn't one of those tournaments like, I've brought it up too many times, but like the one with Wade Barrett where you looked at the bracket and you're like, are they turning Wade Barrett into a king? Because I feel like that's the only reason this tournament exists. This tournament is a true tournament. They've stretched it over the course of 4 I guess weeks now, because it's been 2 matches per show. That's it. They haven't gone ham with it. It's kept it low key. You know what I mean? It's been great.
Tournaments are just great in general.
Oh, exactly.
WWE does need to do more tournaments.
They don't do enough.
Even if it's just like a thing, like they have their own version of the G1 or whatever, like something.
Totally. No. The tournaments in wrestling, they legitimize. They make it feel more legitimate, like a sport.
You're more invested on winning a match, even though there's no storyline.
Absolutely, and then there's progression. You go on a journey with a guy, whether you start out on that.
And that's add on to that point. It's one of those things where, as a viewer, it's kind of hard to say who's better than who, other than saying who wins what championship.
Yeah.
But as you see a tournament, you can kind of get that that actual bracket of who's better than who in the company.
Totally, man. I keep saying that too much. Stop me, because I said that last week on the show too. I'm like, stop me from saying totally too much. But yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying about tournaments and the fact that they help wrestlers, they make the product more, enjoyable to watch, and it's not something that WWE does enough of. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for all the WWE stuff. Like I said, there's too much Raw and SmackDown stuff to go. We're already going a little bit longer for, like I said, normal me and Will. But I guess we'll just get into it. All right, so I wanted to give a few moments of silence. We had a tragic incident in Formula 2 this weekend with Anthonie Hubert in the Formula 2 race, the feature race on the Saturday morning post F1 qualifying, with a horrible accident kind of coming up Eau Rouge or Raidillon into the top of Raidillon, and had a driver in front of him spin out, and then he hit the wall, hit him. Sorry, Will. No, sorry, Will. I thought you were going to say something.
No.
Had spun out, major crash. I'm trying to remember the name of the first driver that spun out, because it wasn't Antoine and it wasn't Juan Manuel, who were the two drivers that were injured in,
I don't
in the
remember
crash.
his name either.
Yeah, I can't remember. So the guy spun out going up the top of the hill, and then the tragic crash happened there with Juan Manuel running into the side of Antoine. So I just wanted to give him a few moments of silence and respect to the family, and it kind of obviously put a bit of damper on the weekend, but this is racing, and I feel like as much as it's not at all a good thing, it really puts perspective and makes people kind of open their eyes a little bit in Formula One and racing, and maybe some of the people who think that it's gotten too safe or it's they're fine now. No. This is a serious sport where every single time these drivers get strapped into those cars and go out and race, they're putting their lives on the line, whether they're racing in the cars of now or the cars of yesterday. It's a serious thing. So I just wanted to make sure, we gave ample time and respect to Antoine, who lost his life in that race, because it was a tragic morning and not something that anybody wants to see, especially a motorsport fan wants to see watching a race. So I do want to get into the race itself, and we'll talk a little bit about the race going forward. And it's always good when Will's here, because we can do a little bit of an extended F1 update, because Will knows his shit in Formula 1.
Depends how long you want to go.
Well, that's just it. I mean, we could. I mean, I'm sure me and you could start a side pro wrestling F1 show, which maybe will happen. But I don't know. Let us know if you're listening to the F1 update right now and you've gotten this far into the show and you enjoy these F1 updates every week.
Yeah, was the guys in Philadelphia, are they listening?
Hey, hopefully. Shout out to you guys in Philadelphia, because I see you downloading those shows. So I appreciate it. It's Pennsylvania.
Watch, this is going to be the one show they don't download.
Yeah, I know it. And I was going to say, I don't want to say it's Philly, because I'm not from Toronto technically. So it's Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But we get listeners all over the States and all over Canada. I just really noticed those guys down there, like you said. They're consistent every week, so we appreciate it. But yeah, anybody who listens to this segment and this show, obviously, every week, if you want more Formula One content, kind of shoot me a DM on the side. Maybe we can start something. I got a buddy at work who'd be interested in something too. So if that's something you guys feel like you get something out of this show and you want more in-depth F1 coverage, we can definitely do that, even if it's on a bi-weekly basis. I would love to do something like that. I started this show more for the pro wrestling fans who don't know a lot about Formula One, and to kind of educate them a little bit, and maybe have some of these people who watch pro wrestling and listen to our show turn on a race on a Sunday morning because they listen to the F1 update, and maybe they know, I heard Nick talk about Kevin Magnussen, I know that name, or whatever, you know what I mean? So that was my only ever goal with starting the F1 update in the first place. So I hope you guys enjoy it. But yeah, Spa. The Formula One race, like I said, a little bit of a damper on the whole weekend and the morning after the tragic passing of Anthonie Hubert. But they went forward with the race. They did a moment of silence with his family at the front and the drivers in a circle. It was a great moment and definitely deserved. But congratulations, Charles Leclerc. I have to bust it out again, man. I've been chirping him for not him specifically, but I've been throwing dirt Ferrari's way for many weeks now.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of just calling them out, saying, when are you guys going to win? If you would have told me that we'd make it this far into the season and Ferrari hadn't won a race yet, I wouldn't have believed you. And every week, I got to say, too, to my dad, congratulations, because I've been giving him the dirty. Every time I see him, I'm like...
Throwback to Bahrain when his Ferrari went a little...
Exactly.
Yeah.
This was 2 races this year that he could have won. Bahrain, especially, when he was leading almost the entire race, and then his car ERS decided to fuck off on him with 20, not even 20, I think it was 10 laps.
Prancing horse got away.
Yeah, exactly. All he had left was the saddle. But yeah, it just incredible to finally see Ferrari get the win here. But I said to my buddies, and shout out to them if they're listening too, in the karting group that we have, but I almost feel like Ferrari just built this car to win at Monza. And they're like, all right, let's just build a car that'll win at Monza. Well, it'll probably be good at Spa. I don't care. If it wins at Monza, build it. That's all we want. Because this car is just crazy fast in a straight line. It's wild.
Yeah.
Even you could see it in the race with the Mercedes when they get into the straightaways, and this was prior to the DRS being active, and the pull away that Vettel or Leclerc, whoever was behind Lewis or Bottas at the time, it was amazing to see the straight line speed of the Ferrari, obviously hindered in the corners, but
Yeah.
What did you think of this race in general?
I think it was a pretty good race. The story there of Albon working his way up from the back in his first race with Red Bull.
I'm so happy again. This is what I'm talking about when I say extended Formula One updates, because it's not just me kind of preaching. It's Will remembering some stuff too. Albon and Gasly. As much as like I've talked about, because I was still doing the F1 update through the summer break. It was just kind of a bit of a shorter one. And I talked about, obviously, the whole switch between Gasly and Albon. It was so funny, man. 3 weeks ago, I said on the show, I'm like, Gasly's got to go. I'm like, this guy's got to go. And then a week later on the show, I was like, guys, I told you he's got to go. He's gone. Not that I don't like Gasly. It's just the performance that he put at that point in the season. I mean, you're getting blown away.
One little chirp, if you want to talk about drivers leaving Red Bull. When someone asked Daniel Kvyat, what do you think of Albon's drive there in his first race for Red Bull? And he's like, well, I mean, he was stuck behind me for 39 laps.
That's actually a really good point. And Daniel Kvyat finished in 7th.
Yeah.
And he started near the back of the grid.
And
so
throw back to the guy that got booted out for Max Verstappen.
Exactly. You know what? I said when this was all talking about with the Gasly and Albon stuff, I thought Kvyat would have been the guy to get called up, especially getting a podium fucking 3 races ago. But I guess the way they see it is they know what they have in Kvyat, and they don't necessarily know what they have in Albon. Mm-hmm. So they're going to give Albon the rest of this season, and then they're going to go forward. I mean,
they're going to give him a chance.
They say that they're still going to consider Kvyat for the seat next season. It'll be they know what they have in him. They want to see what they have in Albon. I can't imagine unless Gasly gets a podium in a Toro Rosso.
All the guys they have in Red Bull and Toro Rosso, they're all guys who went up through the Red Bull driving program.
Exactly.
So they're all guys they have a lot of money and time invested into.
Well, but Albon had left. Like, he was gone. He was like minutes away from signing his Formula E contract. And then when Daniel Ricciardo decided that he wanted to fuck off, they called Alexander Albon and were like, hey, you want to come race Formula One? So that's how but you're right in the sense that he was in the Red Bull program as he got younger, but then they let him go. And he was signed. He was racing in Formula E for 2019.
Wow.
And then with the whole Ricciardo and everything, him getting moved over, and then the call up by Gasly, they needed somebody for that Toro Rosso seat. And they don't have a lot of guys right now in their younger developmental program.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see, obviously, what happens with the whole Toro Rosso situation and Red Bull and who ends up there next year. But yeah, kudos to Gasly, kudos to Albon. You guys both had great races in a car that you haven't drove all fucking year. So that alone is an accomplishment.
I want to give a little bit of a rest in peace to Lando Norris. Not because he's dead, but his engine specifically.
Yeah. Rest in peace to his Renault engine in the back of his McLaren, because
on pace for his best finish of the season, 5th place. Renault engine decides to pull a Ferrari in Bahrain.
Give me what I want!
I don't know if that makes any sense to what you're saying, but I just felt like Lando was probably thinking that in his head. Just get me to the finish line. Give me what I want. Because I couldn't believe that he pulls over on lap 44, the final lap of the race. He crosses the finish line and no power. Side note, shout out to his Twitch channel, because that's something that I'm going to start watching way more, because I didn't realize he broadcasted as much as he does. He
live streams with Max Verstappen too a lot of the time.
Yeah, this week, I got to tell you, there's a clip on Twitter. So he was wearing like this.
Tell me
you saw. Oh my God. Max comes in, he's like, Lando, what the fuck are you wearing? And Lando's just like, it's Alexander Rossi merch. You don't like it? He's like,
Valentino.
Not Alexander. Yeah, that's IndyCar. Valentino Rossi merch. You don't like it? And it had like Super Mario kind of like, I guess that's the whole look of it.
It's like this lime green.
Yeah, it's funny enough because I had seen a clip earlier. Him and his friend were playing PUBG, and his friend got in one of the whatever dune buggies.
Yeah.
And he's driving along, and then he played the clip. Oh my God, no power, I'm losing power.
Oh, no.
And he pulls the fucking dune.
No.
He pulls the dune buggy over, and then Lando, bro. I'll pull up the video once we're done recording and show you. Lando was legitimately crying. Like, he was laughing so hard. He was like crying. So yeah, I felt horrible for Lando in that situation and how his car kind of decided to fuck off on him on the last lap of the race. But to bounce off that, the streaming partners, I'd rather be a Lando Norris fan than a Max Verstappen fan at this race. At least you got to watch him go around the track in 5th place all day.
Yeah.
Whereas Max clipped Kimmy, and you know what? I'll preface, Max went off going up Eau Rouge. He had a suspension damage, and he went basically straight right into the wall. But this is the first time this season that I've seen Max act like 2017, 2016 Max in a race start. Because he had no business going up the inside of Kimmy the way he did. There was no room. That looked like online F1 2019. And I'm trust me, I've come around. Max was not a guy that I was a fan of the last couple of years, but excuse me, geez. His maturity level since this season at the beginning of the year, and just not only the way he drives, but the way he doesn't freak out in scenarios on the radio. He doesn't freak out at media and tell them he's going to punch him in the head if they ask him another question.
Yeah.
He's really changed, and I mean the stuff that we have to think about. How old is he?
Same age as me.
Exactly. So he's born in 1997.
Dude got his start in F1 when I was still in high school.
Which is mental. So it's like, and not to say that, you're too young, but it's like he's a young kid. He's growing up.
Yeah.
And I've watched this guy grow up in 3 years and mature. So
he literally went from karting, Formula
3?
Was it Formula 3 or Formula Renault 3.5 or something like that?
Well, either way, it wasn't Formula 2.
Yeah. And then to
and
Formula
it wasn't
1.
Yeah, it wasn't GP3 and it wasn't Formula 2.
Kart, Formula 1.
Yeah, which is nuts because he raced in karts for his whole life and then raced one season not in an F1 car and then raced in an F1 car the following year, which is and then wins his first race ever.
In Red Bull, not Toro Rosso.
Oh, he had raced in...
Yeah, he was in Toro Rosso. Remember, they swapped him with Kvyat.
That makes sense. So it's still, your first race getting called up because he started the 2016 season at the beginning of the year for Toro Rosso?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
He did some tests for Red Bull when Brazil was the last race of the season.
Yeah. What about Vettel? Kind of a rough day.
Yeah.
4th. Kind of stuck there in 4th. But I got to be honest, man, and maybe you won't agree with this or not. I don't know how much of a Mercedes fan you are, but that was our race to win, man. And Lewis, in my opinion, if it wasn't for Vettel holding up Lewis on, I don't know what lap it was, probably 20, 30 something, Lewis definitely would have caught Leclerc by the end of that race. And that was something I don't want to, get too that was for Antoine. That was Charles, who's somebody who's grown up for Antoine. And I just truly believe that something else was at play. You know what I mean? I don't want to speak of higher powers here on the show, but I just think that it wasn't Mercedes' day, no matter what.
Yeah.
But like I said, kudos to Vettel because maybe it wasn't his race, but he helped his teammate. Not only did he move over at the right time and get out of the way for the quicker teammate to get past him, but he held up Lewis. And I don't know if anybody saw that meme.
He did his teammate's job. He did. Like, I don't want to see he's a number 2 teammate because he's like a 4-time world champion, but like, you know what I mean, right?
Exactly.
At each race, there's one driver who's a little faster than the other. So he did his job. He's like, okay, Charles is faster than me. I'm going to do what I can to make sure he builds that gap. He played the good teammate role. He played if you want to go back to 2004, the Rubens Barrichello, the Michael Schumacher.
But I think the difference, because you're right, he did, but I think the difference there is if next weekend Vettel's the one that out-qualifies Leclerc and gets on pole, and Vettel's the one who's having the quicker pace, then I think that they would do the exact opposite, and they would ask Charles Leclerc to move over for Vettel. Yeah. Because we're not competing for championships here, let's be real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The only one that's competing for a championship is Lewis and maybe Valtteri at this point.
And the last thing that Tifosi would want to see is 2 Ferraris crashing at Monza.
Oh, my God. Especially after last season when you had 2 Mercedes driving side by side on the fucking at the end of the race in the cool-down lap, not allowing anybody to pass them, and them coming out of the forest driving side by side, just a big fuck you to Ferrari. I couldn't believe that they did that last year, but... It's I'm Italian. Like if I haven't already said that on the show, so anybody you can come at me now for not cheering for Ferrari, but I've been a Lewis fan since I jumped back into Formula 1, and I just like the guy and I like the way he portrays everything, and I like the winning mentality. Not just the winning, I like the winning mentality of Mercedes, that if it's not a win, it's not good enough, and that they always strive to be better. It's good in Formula 1, and it's also good at just in life.
Well, fun fact, I don't know if you know too much history about Formula 1.
Ferrari?
No, not Ferrari.
Oh, so I thought you were going to talk about Schumacher and the Ferrari days of Schumacher.
No. Back back in like the 50s.
Yeah. Oh,
When Mercedes first came to Formula One,
Dominant.
they were the ones who said like, okay, this isn't. I'm gonna borrow my buddy's Bugatti and race in a Formula One race. They showed up, they had their trucks, and they were professional.
Yep.
They're the one that turned it from just ragtag racing into an actual professional sport. And that was the way they carried themselves.
And that's one of the things that I've loved about them since I got back into Formula One. I just gravitated towards the team and the professionalism and everything about them. So I don't even know where I was going with this point in Ferrari to begin with. But, yeah, I don't even know what I was saying.
Well, I do want to do a little bit of Vettel was interviewed what he misses about what he misses about Kimi Räikkönen compared to having Charles Leclerc as his teammate. He's just like, there's more words. Charles speaks more.
Charles speaks too much, almost, maybe. Is that all he said? He's just more words?
More words.
How about Haas, man? What's going on? These guys can qualify and they can't race.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, I'm like...
It's the tires, but...
They have the pace. Like, when even at the beginning of the year, they finished, what, 5th?
Yeah, first race of the season.
Like, how do you, like, your first race, your first ever, like, go back to when they debuted.
In 2016, and they were
They were like, yeah, they were great. They came in, they're like, oh, we're in, like,
this
top
is a win
5
for
teams.
us. This is a win. I remember, I can picture Grosjean on the radio. This is like a win for us.
First, like, brand new team. This isn't, well, I don't know if they're brand new or if they bought on their team.
No, they were brand new in 2016.
Yeah, it wasn't like
Gene Haas came over from the States.
Yeah, it wasn't
worked
it
with
wasn't
Ferrari.
Like, it wasn't like Mercedes bought Bar, which bought Honda.
No,
blah, blah, blah,
no,
blah.
no.
It was just a brand new team from scratch, first race.
The only thing that they got was they got a lot of parts from Ferrari, but they still got to do that.
I mean, that's contract and deal
Of course.
stuff, but any other team would do that. It's just being smart.
But yes,
They
you are
had
right.
that pace, and then like 2 years later, they're worse.
It doesn't make sense. This year is the tires. Last year they were decent, and the
Yeah,
year
they were
before
decent.
even better. 17, I feel like they were even better than 18, and then they've kind of started to go down.
Yeah.
18, 19. But the weird part is that they can qualify so damn good and not be able to keep it up in the races. I don't know.
So I had to ask you then, because we mentioned the Ferrari parts. Is that a Ferrari thing why they're qualifying fast, or?
Maybe. I was going to go on the opposite end of the spectrum and say, is this something that we think is going to affect Ferrari going forward? Is Ferrari having trouble with tires? We're just not seeing it as much because they can make up for the straight line speed? You know what I mean? I want to know if Ferrari and Haas are dealing with the same sort of positives and negatives.
I don't think so. I think like Ferrari has like their parts. If we want to get going back to 2016, how Mercedes had their engines, but they still had a slightly better engine than everyone else they're sending engines out to because they'd get those updates first. I think Ferrari is similar to that. I mean, they can look at Haas and go, well, they're having this problem. How do we fight that?
How do we fix it now? So by the time it gets to us, yeah, that's a good point. But either way, it's like, do you think they're going to switch drivers? Like, do you think Roman Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen will be at Haas in 2020?
I don't know. I honestly can't tell you.
Rumors are Hülkenberg.
I wouldn't surprise me. Hulkenberg's been in Formula One for like a while now.
I know.
Thinking about it.
I know.
Almost 15 years. He's a veteran of the sport.
And he's never podiumed. I feel so bad for him.
He came close that one
Last
time.
2-3 weeks ago too. He was close.
He was close,
And
but
he spun out.
there was one time back in Brazil.
spun out.
Brazil, almost in 2015 or something
Didn't
like
he
that.
pole? Didn't he pole in Brazil?
Yeah, he pulled in Brazil, and then in the race, it was a wet race. He was fighting for third place with Lewis Hamilton, and then he crashed out. And I felt so bad because he was on a race of his life
Oh man,
for
yeah.
Force India.
I liked the look of that black and silver Force India too. When they
It
had
wasn't the
that
black. I think it was still.
Yeah, this was
it
probably
black?
the white and.
Well, no, it might have been the black one. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
But either way, that's the rumor because I mean we know now. My boy, I'm fucking fired up. I didn't talk about it. I think I talked about it last week. Esteban Ocon, baby, signed for Renault. He's going to be there next year. So Mercedes kind of let him go. I mean, let him go in the sense that they let him go.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's still kind of a part of the Mercedes program, but they're just not allowed to ask for him back for 2 years. So like he's at Renault for 2 years unless Renault kicks him.
Yeah.
Mercedes can't call up Renault and say, yeah, we want Ocon back. We don't like Bottas now. Like
I think didn't Bottas say he's signed another contract for like 2022 or something?
No, just 1 year. 1 year.
Okay.
They'll keep Bottas on the white because he wasn't even guaranteed. Most people were thinking Ocon was getting that seat, which I, even being an Ocon fan, thought was a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, Bottas has been fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. And I've talked about it many times on the show. My mom's a massive Bottas fan, so I kind of have started to like him more and more as this 2019 season has happened because she's such a big fan. But yeah, I don't know. It's I guess that's almost everything from this race. That was kind of the major stuff. Leclerc got the win. Ferrari and Bottas Lewis and Bottas on the podium there with him, and that was kind of the major points. Lando Norris.
Monza this weekend.
Yeah, buddy. Forza Azzurre.
The thing you just did with your hand, the Italian.
Yeah.
You know, if you know what it, like, we can't see it on the camera, but
yeah. Did you see
if
that
you know
meme?
Yeah, where it's like what they based the Monza track layout on.
I seen that today. Shout out to Phil if he's listening, because Phil showed me that at work, and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I love Monza. I'm so happy that they announced that Monza's coming back for 2024, or all the way until 2024. Probably one of my favorite tracks to do in sim racing by far. I can buzz around that.
Is it because it's fast, or is it because it's kind of easy?
Honestly, it's just because I don't necessarily like it / enjoy it. I do, but it's more just because that's where I do the best times. Like you put me in the 2013 Ferrari in Assetto Corsa at Monza, and I'm smashing that shit. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about that car and that track that I just do well at. Because don't get me wrong, I would rather be in a hybrid car at Singapore if it's up to me. But I just do really well at that track, and it's a track that I've known. I like the lines because it's such a line-based track. You take a different line going into some of those chicanes, and it's totally going to change the speed that you come out of that corner with.
Just a little off topic, because the way you said chicane, there's a little funny video on YouTube called Fernando Alonso Likes Chicken. It's because of his accent. Every time he was going
chicane.
Yeah, it's like at first you enter the first chicane, and then you fast through there, and then heartbreaking into the second chicane.
Oh man, we have to watch that now after the show. Like, that is a must. But yeah, it's one of the most famous tracks in the history of Formula One. Don't get me wrong. As much as I said I love Monza, if it was up to me and I could choose where we go in Italy, we're going to Imola every time. That track to me is a nicer track. I know obviously it's got some negative, somber connotations with the Senna passing and everything, obviously. And I don't know how well the track is upkept. I don't know if they could just take a Formula One race there currently. But Monza's awesome, so they're going to stay there until 2024 and see kind of what happens. But bro, this is kind of like a little mini anniversary for me. This is when I got back into Formula One, was Monza 2016. And I just decided, I bought the video game that year and was like, yeah, it's similar to wrestling. When I watched some wrestling documentaries and decided I was going to watch Monday Night Raw, I happened to tune in. I was like, oh, when's the next race? Oh, it's Monza? That's the one track that I actually know. And because I knew that before jumping. I knew Suzuka, maybe Spa, couple. Monaco. But not like anything else, and not even nowhere near as well as Monza. Like, when I bought that F1 2016 game, I went to Monza because that was the only track I knew off by heart, whereas I knew the turns and shit. And I think I played in the outside view. It's so crazy to see how far I've come as far as like sim racing with a controller pad back then all the way to what I have now. But yeah, I'm spending too much on my own self this week, I think, on the F1 update. And it's like, I guess 3 years, 4 years. I don't know if it's 3.5 years since I've been watching F1 now. So it's pretty cool that time flies like that. It doesn't feel like it's already been that long, but that's when I started watching, was when Nico and Lewis were battling for that championship that Nico won. Feels like yesterday, but obviously it was not. Like I said, very famous track, opened September 3rd, 1922. So quite old. I don't know if it was quite as old as Spa. We were talking last week about how Spa was post-World War I and pre-World War II. So I guess this would be pre-World War II as well, but I think Spa was a little bit older in the sense they were there in like 1919 or something.
I'm not sure in the States.
Yeah, it's like I said, give or take a couple years anyway, nothing major.
A decade here or there.
Yeah. 5.79 kilometers, 11 turns, and then the most recent layout of the track, and obviously the lap records is always done in race, not qualifying, is 1 minute, 21 seconds, and 0 with 46, I guess. How do you say that? 0 hundredths of a second, by Barrichello in 2004. So somebody we talked about on this show previously.
I'm surprised they actually haven't beaten that, especially when they had the 2017 cars where they're breaking lap records everywhere else.
I know, it's crazy because they break them everywhere in qualifying, no matter what. But I think the big difference is the refueling, and they could go down to less fuel back then and then put the car back up, whereas now they have to start with the car loaded full of fuel, and then the only time the car has minimal fuel is near the end of the race when the tires are used up. So unless you're going to go put on a new set of tires and then set the fastest lap, then maybe. So that's probably why, because you're right. It's
rooting for Williams to take that lap record at Monza.
Oh, that would be incredible. That would be. I don't think so though. I seen a picture. I seen it. One more meme talking about Instagram F1. I seen a picture that my buddy Pat from work sent to me that was the Titanic sinking, and it just said Williams. And then when in the movie when there's those guys playing the violins, and it just says, "Just keep playing, boys." and it literally had Claire Williams, Frank Williams, and I can't remember who the other person was. Probably Kubica. Over like just the written text over top of those 4 violin players, and I don't know, it was a good meme. Definitely a good meme. But unless there's anything else from this race, or if you want to talk about Monza, hype for Monza, anything there
other than just all the aero stuff that a lot of teams are implementing, the difference between the Monaco aero and the Monza aero?
It's a good point, because it's completely different. And if you're a diehard fan like us, I mean, I can speak probably for you and say that you're somewhat of a diehard fan. At least I think, I don't know. You can notice the differences. Like you could put the Monaco car, give me a picture of the Monaco car, and then give me a picture of the Monza car, and I could tell you which car is which.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of little extra bits and bobs and aero and all that stuff that's on the sides of the car that keep it stuck to the ground. Side topic from Monza, just for us, I guess, here. One of the crazier things is when they talk about Mexico and how they use Monaco levels of aero and they achieve less downforce than they have at Monza, which is fucking insane because of how thin the air is in Mexico. It's just wild. We'll obviously talk about it when we get to Mexico later in the season, but the only other thing about Monza is I had listened just because I thought this was pretty cool. 113,860 people is kind of the rough attendance that they can get there at Monza. But it should be a good race. I mean, it should be another good one for Ferrari. I think Ferrari's probably going to take this one if Spa was anything.
We'll see. I mean, if Mercedes can figure it out.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully they can. I just mean with the heat problems that Mercedes usually deals with and how hot Monza's supposed to be this weekend, I don't know. We'll see, obviously.
I read a report that people were saying 90% chance of rain for Monza.
No way. That's changed since I was listening to it because everybody kept talking about, excuse me, Jesus, again tonight. Everybody was talking about how hot it was going to be and if that was going to affect Ferrari and the tires similar to Haas and the tires.
I mean, it's the weather. Take it with a grain of salt, obviously.
This is very true. I mean,
a rainy Monza. Last time we had a rainy Monza, was it Sebastian Vettel won in a Toro Rosso?
Back in 2008. I was going to say, I think last year's qualifying, 2018 qualifying, was in the rain, though. I'm almost positive. We'd have to look that one up, but get back to me, shoot me a DM if I'm wrong, because I think I'm right on that one, and me and Will do the research later. But yeah. It would be awesome to see a wet Monza because it would be just throw a wrench in everything, especially with the straights there. Like it's going to totally change who's going to have the dominant setups and all that kind of shit. So looking forward to it. I mean,
especially if it's a dry qualifying and dry practice, and then all of a sudden it's a wet
and then
race.
It's a chuck it down, soaking wet.
Then it's all about the setup. It's all that practice time you got is out the window.
Yeah, that would be. I'm hoping for that now that you planted that seed for
rain. Who knows?
You
might get a red one too.
Oh, I don't know about that. Don't get ahead of yourself there, Will. But the other thing I was going to say about the track, I can't even remember. What were we just saying about the before the rain?
People in attendance?
Yeah, no, I don't know what it was. Okay, yeah, I'm an idiot. I remember completely what it was. It was just, this is the one race since I've been watching F1 that Ferrari has not won since I've been watching. And as much as I'm a Mercedes fan, and I've talked about it before, I like Lewis and this is stuff, and I'm Italian, and maybe I should be cheering for Ferrari. This race, since even in 2017, I wanted them to win this race. I've wanted Ferrari to win this race 17, 18, and this year, I mean, they should win, and it's kind of, they almost have too much pressure because if they don't win, then it's like, oh, they should have won. No, why didn't they win? But either way, that being said, I want to see the Tifosi go fucking crazy for whether it's Sebastian Vettel or Leclerc. I prefer it to be Vettel, to be completely honest. I like Vettel more.
Here's a question for you, though.
But
do they wait until next year when they bring up Giovinazzi so they have an Italian driver and an Italian car on the Italian track?
If Giovinazzi gets called up to Ferrari, I will do a backflip off the studio. Because not out of excitement. I like Giovinazzi, but that's not happening, man. Like, there's no way that's happening. And I'm not trying to make you sound stupid or me sound like, in my opinion, there's no way. Like, if Vettel decided on the last day of the season, I'm done, like Nico Rosberg, then they're signing Daniel Ricciardo or somebody of that.
You sure?
Somebody of that ilk. Not Antonio Giovinazzi.
They let Kimi go to Alpha.
Yeah, but well, I don't think Daniel Ricciardo wants to stay in Renault any longer after the season that they've had. Other than the $20 million he's getting from them, I don't think he's too pleased with anything that's happened there. But dude, I like Giovinazzi. He's the only Italian driver on the grid. Trust me, you're talking to the biggest Giovinazzi fan in the room. But there's only two of us. But he spun out this week, and I just don't think, with the little mistakes that he's made, even in 2017 when he replaced Pascal Wehrlein in Australia and China, I don't know if they would choose him. He would have to be putting on Kimi performances like Kimi's doing right now. I think they got a better chance at bringing Kimi back.
Probably,
to be completely honest, if Vettel were to go. But I don't.
Kimi's been pretty damn good in that Alpha.
He has. And I don't know. We can talk silly season. I'm sure me and you could do this all night. But Vettel going to Ferrari would be something too. And you never know.
Vettel is at Ferrari.
Or Vettel going back to Red Bull. Sorry, Jesus. Vettel going back to Red Bull would be something that would
put him in a Toro Rosso.
Oh my!
Work his way back up.
Yeah, him and the Torpedo, the tag team. That would be fucking something, wouldn't it? No, Vettel would be in his garage back in Germany working on his moped before he'd be racing for Toro Rosso.
Vettel the Mercedes to replace Bottas.
Mercedes would love that. You know how bad they want a real German driver? No offense, Nico Rosberg. They want a real homegrown German driver driving that car. They would love that. But there's no chance in hell Lewis is letting them sign Vettel.
Last time he raced with the world champion, there was a bit of a butting of the heads.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. But it's been pretty good for the F1 update this week, Will. I always enjoy when you're here for the roundtable because we can have an extended F1 update.
Enjoy being here.
Dude, thank you for coming. And like I said, if you guys enjoy the F1 stuff, shoot me a DM and we'll converse and we'll maybe talk about some more possibilities of that in the future. With all that stuff, though, Will, it's been pretty good, man. Roundtable episode 52. You're going to have to come back. Sooner than... Well, not that I didn't think you'd be coming back, but sooner than you have. And I got to get you in with Dawn or with somebody else. I feel like a lot of the ones me and you have done have just me and you, which, again, turned out to be fine, an hour and 41 minutes. But you know how it is. If you guys don't already, like I said at the beginning of the show, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at PWLookback. Send us an email. I don't think I said the email at the beginning of the show. ProWrestlingLookback@gmail.com is where you can do that. Teespring.com/ProWrestlingLookback is where you can get hoodies, mugs, t-shirts. I'm going to get a cup on there, and stay tuned for the new shirt coming out. I'm not going to tell you what it is on here, but we're dropping a new shirt soon, and it's... I
got to say, if you're going to get a mug, you got to get one of the ones that it changes with the heat, so then it reveals the logo.
That would be dope. We do already have a mug. I can show you inside. It's got the date that we recorded our first ever episode on the side of it, so that's kind of the little cool thing that it does have, but... Yeah, good point. I like that, Will. If you don't already, like I said, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, hit the 5 stars, subscribe, like, share, comment. Let us know how we do. If you like the show, if you don't like the show, we want to hear from you. We want to know. And like Willie said, shout out to Pennsylvania. And don't forget, guys, check out the sponsor at Pure Oxide Premium CBD Oils. Check them out, pureoxide.com. At Pure Oxide CBD is the Instagram. Get in contact with at Justin.brothers on Instagram too if you want to get more questions about the stuff and kind of get maybe some free samples. I know he's been doing some free samples, so check him out for that. Like I said, good for joint pain, mobile. It helps with everything. Check him out at Pure Oxide CBD. This has been the Roundtable, episode 52. I'm Nick.
I'm Will.
Stay classy, motherfuckers.